The city had a peculiar stillness, one that felt as if the air were slowly being extracted. Even the shadows lurked with an unusual slant, bending in ways that defied the soft glow of streetlights. Mel walked through the fog-laden park at dusk, the damp earth beneath her feet whispering of past rains. Trees towered overhead like silent watchers, their limbs stretching out, fingers poised to grasp. It was the kind of evening where silence gripped the world, a silence that felt heavier than any sound could. She was on edge, her mind racing with the day's events. The long hours at the library had drained her, and with each shuffling page, the books had started to feel like a burden rather than a treasure. As she passed by an old lamppost, she heard it again, a soft, baleful wail, a note hanging uncomfortably in the air, stretching, twisting. A cry echoed from somewhere beyond the park, and she felt it reverberate through her body, threading its way deep into her very being. Dismissing it as her imagination, she pressed onward. Still, the sound lingered, lingering just beneath the surface of her thoughts. What was that noise? Her pulse quickened, and she could feel the brush of something unnatural beyond the trees, an ephemeral finger shape that grazed her spine. She looked back over her shoulder but saw nothing. As days folded into weeks, Marisol's exposure to peculiar incidents intensified. Hours spent cataloging old manuscripts of folklore unearthed odd patterns, tales of errant banshees reverberating through the night, echoes of sorrow so potent they wrapped around the heart with an iron grip. Streams of strange sightings that had become just folklore in a forgotten time found their way into her thoughts like a persistent itch. The library was older than the city itself. Arched ceilings loomed above, like forgotten constellations, while dusty shelves groaned under the weight of their secrets. Mel's eyes caught a passage titled "Lament and Echoes," discussing local legends surrounding a mysterious sound that often heralded disappearance. The entries were woven with a thread of dread, stories of people who ventured forth into the night, following the plaintive call never to return. A chill danced along her spine. As she worked late into the night, that sound crept back. Each wail resonated within the dusty binders, echoing off the slick-tiled floors. It was impossible to pinpoint its source, the sound spiraling through the library like smoke. Mel stopped, listening intently, a daring thought taking root. Was it a siren's call? A myth tucked into the veins of the old walls? She tried to remain pragmatic. The rational part of her scoffed, but there was a thrill brewing in her worries. Then, one evening, the library doors groaned open, and in stepped someone shrouded in darkness. At first, he seemed like any other patron, lost in the ether of books, but the way he moved was unsettling, as if he was piloting through shadows rather than lit spaces. Mel watched, transfixed, as he navigated the shelves like he knew them too intimately. Then he turned, his gaze locking onto hers. Within his eyes lay an unbroken understanding, and she felt as if he could see every fear she harbored. He approached her, and the air thickened, a fleeting chill rippling through the quiet space. "Are you listening to the echoes?" he asked, his voice low and coated in reverence. "It calls to you, doesn't it?" She tried to laugh it off, but her heart raced. She knew this wasn't just a conversation. It was an invitation, a thread tugging at something buried deep within her. "It can lead you to what you want," he continued, enigmatic and insistently cryptic. "Do you want to find out where it leads?" The following days unfurled with an oppressive air of expectation. Despite herself, Mel felt lured, like a moth to the flame of knowledge that dripped from the stranger's words. She dove deeper into her research, consuming folk tales and theories, crafting her understanding of this thread she barely grasped, all while the noises outside tugged insistently at her sanity. Soon, the once tame inflections grew louder, sharper. Each night, the wail reverberated earlier, resonating through her bones, wrapping tightly around her thoughts. An insatiable need clawed at her insides, urging her to follow the sound. to align herself with the legends woven through the history she was unraveling. The night engulfed the library as she neared its end. The walls caved in, trembling under the metaphorical weight of whispers rising amid shadows. It lulled her closer and closer to the door. Each footstep was a heartbeat, leading her to an abyss she feared she might not return from. Yet she was tired of the lingering uncertainty. That night, the air felt charged as Mel followed the sound outside. The park was draped in a cloak of shadows, trees swaying like sentinels warning her away. The whispers beckoned, rising to a crescendo, an ungodly serenade coaxing her deeper into the night. Then it came, a rush of cold air that nipped at her skin and pushed her further into the thicket of shadows. And there it was, the source of that wailing. It hovered just out of sight, a figure shrouded in darkness, shimmering with a light that seemed to warp reality around it. She felt dizzy, caught in an inescapable pull. The air around her vibrated with anticipation, the whispers coaxing her forward, consuming her thoughts and clouding her judgment. It called to her, the place where sorrow and longing intertwined, a pulse she could almost touch. Then it shifted, a symbiotic vision. At that moment, dread washed over her, and all she could hear was her own voice in reply, an echo of hope and despair. "I want to find it." Suddenly, the air shattered with alarming clarity. That sound wrapped itself around her mouth, suffocating her pleas. The figure flickered, twisting grotesquely. Shadows peeled away with a majesty that defied understanding, enveloping her entire existence. She could barely comprehend what she saw. A multitude of faces weeping in unison, revealing nothing but pale, haunted expressions. And then darkness enveloped her. The library was closed for days following her disappearance. Only the echoes of her footsteps remained, swirling among the whispered tales found within dusty tomes. Each late patron found themselves lured in by a wailing stillness that filled the aisles, but nobody answered the call. But late at night, as the city shrouded itself in sleep, one might hear the sound, a mournful cry echoing through the park, trembling through the open air, calling for something lost. In the heart of the library, a forgotten manuscript now gathers dust, a whisper of knowledge that might lead to fibers unspooling between realms, waiting for the next eager mind to succumb to the sound. It waits.